Morning. So the first one is biopsychology.
Yeah, I did biopsychology. So that was chapter 8. It was biopsychology, cognitive neuropsychology, and clinical neuropsychology. There were essentially two different jobs you can get with those fields of study. One was like in bachelor's, and then the other one was at graduate level, mostly doctoral though, like not many masters. Um, with a bachelor's degree, there were a lot of jobs where you could be assisting a professional. So there was science technician, there was psychiatric technician, there was medical or clinical laboratory techno technologist and technician, there was pharmacy technician, and essentially like in each of those, like a psychiatric technician just assisted a psychiatrist in monitoring patients, and then a pharmacy technician did the same, like they monitored what drugs are being administered and to whom and making sure everything was correct. And all of those jobs showed very promising growth. So either one seemed very promising for the future. For the graduate level, it's very academic based, like research, mostly like developing new drugs and making current drugs more effective. But something the book really talked about is it's a very stressful job because it really depends on the stock market and also like current demands for like new medications. So people are just like always working, like there's not really a plan for retirement until you decide you want to retire. So that was also a very prospective job, with a lot of growth in the future.
And then I'm assuming like the doctoral ones would be like doctors and stuff.
Like they get like PhDs essentially. It said
Mhm.
doctoral degrees. So I'm assuming because you have to do all the research and conduct research. So
Mm, cool.
it's also very biology based too, but as the name implies. So yeah, a lot of education biology is like recommended.
Would you consider like a career out of something in the book?
Well, I really like psychiatry, so yes, I do like the natural sciences with psychology, and that's pretty much like even at the bachelor's level, they recommended that you get extra training and like for I'm pretty sure it was a medical or clinical laboratory technician, they like recommended you even go to nursing school like for some time, like so it's I think all of them is a combination of both, which is like interesting to me.
Okay, I can go. Well, wait, I'm IO Psych. Pretty sure that's next.
Chapter 9 is next, which is organizational, but
Yeah.
we don't really have to. Okay.
I think that's one. Okay. So IO or industrial organizational psychology is business psychology. So these are the people, the psychologists in the workplace, working to maintain and like retain employees. And for this kind of job, you don't really need high degrees. Like you only need a bachelor's degree, really. So that makes it easy for people who don't want to go to school for a long time. And what else? Like some of the ways that they retain employees is by conducting surveys, by doing professional development, and things that make people want to keep coming back to work. So that's what they do.
What are some examples of like job jobs, like job titles exactly? Like I'm
Oh,
still confused about what it is.
yeah. So human resources is kind of something that would fall under that. What else? A workforce analyst, talent management specialist. So people who do all the onboarding and hiring.
Okay.
Would you be interested in it, or is it kind of something that you want to, yeah.
Well, if no one else has anything to say, the next one's experimental.
That one's me. So for experimental and quantitative psychology, experimental is kind of what it sounds like, and quantitative psychology is more like in the mathematics and stats field. A few career options within like a bachelor's degree of psychology would be an underwriter. So this is like a person who's in charge of the financial status of someone, something like that from my I can comprehend. Then there's a computer programmer specialist, so people who work with computers, cleaning the hardware, if there's like a virus in your computer. Yeah, and then there's a budget analyst, kind of similar to an underwriter, just handling the budget of the people. Then there's a behavior technician, which I thought was pretty interesting. Um, but one of the few things is they get paid 43,000, but it's still something like if you want to go into, I want to say psychology field, like become a psychologist and stuff. Then there's like a higher up uh, role towards the behavior technician, and that would be a board certified behavior analyst. So it's kind of like I want to say like a manager, and then like a behavior technician is someone like in the lower level. They make 43,000 as well, but they do work less hours. So, I mean, I think they like manage themselves a little bit more. And then there's an research analyst. These are people that like apply stats and want to know how like something functions with the stats. I don't know. It's kind of like business related. Um, then there's the system analyst and systems architect, data architect, and database administrator. I have no clue what that is. So that's a great big words. But pretty much from what I can comprehend is like people who are in the business field and handling business within the psychology field, how kind of similar to like industrial organizational psychology. And then there's a financial analyst. Um, sorry, I'm trying to like read my little note thing. Um, they make decisions about expending money to attain profit. So yeah, those are one of the few options that I got.
What
So
about,
it's made
oh,
based. Oh, wait. Wait, so okay, so it's like mainly math based.
It is. It's a lot of if you're really into like statistics, I would suggest that. I from what I can like see myself doing more particularly something not in the stats field because I hate math, but a behavior technician for sure. Yeah. So yeah.
what about a behavior technician interests you?
You get to work with kids, and I don't know, I like kids, and particularly those who have autism. You get to just enable them to a better lifestyle. Yeah.
Awesome.
Do they recommend like you take other coursework, or is it mostly just psychology and
That is a great question. I would suggest like psychology and stats. That is a great question. I do not know.
Okay, well, I can go ahead and go. So I had chapter 11, which was social and consumer psych. So social psych, as we all probably know, is just like how people interact with each other and their social environments around them. And like you study things like personality and attitude formation, relationships with like attachment, attraction, prejudices, and like stuff like that. And then consumer psych is like kind of like the marketing and advertisement piece of it, and like the subliminal messages that you get from advertising. So it kind of can like study the realm of like marketing to help businesses sell things. So with a bachelor's degree in social and consumer psych, you can go into advertising, real estate, public relations, and sales, all of like basically just like the businessy side of things. Um, and then like graduate level, it was a little confusing, but basically it was just saying like you can get higher up, more advanced jobs with the graduate degree than with the bachelor degree. So like you would be like the manager, like the sales manager, or like conducting research on marketing and stuff like that. Kind of just like trying to find out more about how to help businesses sell things to people, which to me personally, I'm like, I don't really like this field of things because it just feels kind of like snaky, but it's kind of cool too to like look at. And then yeah, it also noted that graduate degrees in social and consumer psych are some of the most marketable of all psych degrees. So meaning there's just like a lot of opportunities in like the business realm of things with this type of psych degree. So if you're wanting to go into business, this would be good for you. And then also with a graduate's degree, they talked about data mining, which I didn't really understand. That was like very like techie and stuff, but basically just like using a bunch of different stats techniques to examine like trends, kind of like how Google does with like algorithms and stuff to kind of see what's best. Like, you know, like how TikTok or you go on your phone and you get like advertisements, which I feel like they're like listening to us or something, but who knows? But yeah, that's kind of all about social and consumer psych.
So they're the people like stealing our information and selling it.
Yeah, pretty much. They're the people like trying to get into our head and get us to buy things. Like when you're scrolling on Instagram and the ad for the I don't know, like swimsuit that you were just talking about shows up and you're like, what? Somehow they have a way of finding that out. I think that's kind of what data mining is about.
That's a pretty interesting spectrum of the field.
Yeah.
Would you do that? Would you consider like no?
No, I want to help people, not use psychology to manipulate people.
Yeah, great, great.
I think it would be cool to like research about social psych, like in general, and use that information to help people, kind of like Dr. Butterfield, but like not business. I'm not really into the whole business aspect of things.
Kind of seems like mind tricking.
Yeah, right. Like sales. My um my dad's a salesman and he always talks about he has a psych degree and he just always talks about how slimy everyone is and stuff. It's really hard to like keep a moral compass when you're trying to basically manipulate people into doing what you want them to do.
Great advice.
Yeah.
I don't really have a question, but I just thought that was like super interesting to hear about. And I don't know if you guys have seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, but it kind of reminds me of that and how they go over just like all the different ways they're calculating the things that you click on and watch. And I don't know, it's like interesting to think of as a job.
Yeah.
Because it's not helpful to people. Like they don't use it for good. So I don't know the type of people it tracks, but it's just kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
You got it right. Is that like the show where it's like Instagram, if you haven't been on it for a few days, they'll send you a notification just to like keep you in the loop?
Yeah, it's like
That like they use like psychology to like keep you using your apps and stuff like that and keep your addiction going.
mhm. Yeah. Well, I've seen it. It was like they link like if your friend is like searching something up and they saw that you guys are just together, then like they'll transfer it over to your phone because like, oh, you're just talking about it. And then it's just really creepy.
Oh, that's actually weird.
yeah, like they can track you onto other people's devices and like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, also I think like big businesses and stuff will hire, like a lot of them will have like social psychologists like as a part of their team. So like they can just it's just so like icky to me to think about, but it's like so they can like use that information with like the best social psychologists, like people with like higher level degrees to better market. I don't know. It's like everything with your phone too. They're so good at it. I don't like it's like scary to think of how like people taking all this time to get a degree and then using it, all of that information to like form addictions in people and to like help businesses get money out of people and get things out of people. Like it's actually crazy. But I think that they pay really well. So if you're looking for money, then good for you. Go for it.
Gosh, okay, I think on the last chapter, mine was, oh, if there's no more questions or anything, but mine's chapter 12 on developmental psychopathology. And this is basically the study of how people grow and develop and change across the lifespan. And they study the kind of like your like emotions and intellect and also physical development of like children through adulthood. So like adolescence to adulthood. And it's just really interesting to like kind of follow the different patterns throughout someone's life. And there's actually a lot of jobs that you can get within this field. A lot of the bachelor's degrees don't pay like very high, but there's still really great jobs with a lot of like growth opportunities. Um, some of them is like gerontology service coordinator, which is kind of working with kind of midlife to like older people and kind of like following their like progression of development and helping them out. There's child life specialist, a student activities director, a program assistant, coordinator, and director, and then also like fundraising. You can like assist with like helping getting like donation drives or other stuff like that for different organizations. And then with the graduate degree, you can become a grant director, a foundation director, a developmental consultant to products and media, or even like a user experience designer and a user interface designer for like different like apps that they create, to be able to like draw more attention to them, which is really interesting. And then the one that I was assuming out of like all of this was the one that popped up last talked about was the applied developmental psychologist. And that one does require like licensure and all of that. So you do like a little bit more than just like a typical, it'd be probably more than like 2 years. It'd probably be like 3 or 4. And then trying to like take the state exams and all of that. But like they're all super interesting jobs to have. I guess I was just kind of surprised that there's a lot more like organization leadership positions with this than working with clients. But within like the applied developmental psychologist one, you can design and empirically like evaluate different programs for hospitals or social service agencies, mental health clinics, and schools. And then it's suggested to move on to like doctoral stuff because it allows you to kind of engage more with more advanced activities. Yeah, so it's just like a really interesting field to dive into. Any questions?
I feel like you did a really good job of covering all of that. I'm like trying to think of something that you didn't touch on. Would you be interested in that?
I thought I was at first, but then when I started looking at all the jobs, I realized like it's not very much like clientele work. It's more kind of overseeing like how all the systems work coming together. I'm currently in a developmental psychopathology class, so I thought it'd be kind of like that. I don't really know what my professor does exactly because I know she's like professor on the side is something else. I think like a researcher maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe like an applied developmental psychologist, but I don't want to go to like I don't want to get a doctorate because I just can't do that much school. So I don't know, maybe not. I think I want to focus more on like client work, like straight um communication with them. So yeah.
Are you interested in like the developmental side, like kids to teens and like helping them there?
Definitely, yeah. That's kind of why I chose this like chapter to read about, was because what I'm learning in class is super interesting. Just learning about the different systems, like your social cultural environment, and then like even your parents' like histories and your like different, what else was it? Oh yeah, like your psychology, what was it? Psychological environment, all that. Like there's just so many contributing factors, like background factors to kind of how you like develop and grow over time. And they're different kind of like reinforcers for how some people maybe face trauma, and like some people are able to like not have a big impact from it and just kind of move forward in life. And then for other like, especially for kids, like some of them have those like reinforcers and others don't, and so then they're more prone to um having a lot of like later on issues like from that trauma. And so it's just really, it's like a very vague but like big but like interesting field, I think, to be in, and to learn all about like the different ways like your brain and like environmental factors kind of like relate into like who you grow up to be. So yeah, I think it's cool, but it just feels kind of like I don't fully understand it either, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really cool though. Like I find that very interesting, like learning about all the different like nuances of that kind of just go into your psyche and the way that you were developed and the like the patterns of thought that you have and the things that impacted that. It's really cool.
I feel like for therapy especially, that would be like so important to have like that education.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and stop the recording if everyone has said everything.